Imagine you owe $2,000 on a credit card. Your bill arrives, and at the bottom it says you only need to pay $60. So you pay the 60. You feel responsible. You paid on time. You did exactly what they asked. But here's the strange part. That $60 payment may be the reason the debt stays alive for years. Because the minimum payment is not designed to get you out of debt quickly. It is designed to keep you in the system. And that does not mean your credit card company is secretly sitting in a dark room hoping you struggle. The truth is less dramatic than that, but it is also more interesting. A credit card is not really a payment method. It is a tiny loan that follows you around in your wallet. Every time you swipe it, you are borrowing money from the company behind the card. And like every loan, that borrowed money has a price. That price is interest. If you pay your full statement balance by the due date, many cards let you avoid purchase interest entirely. But once you start carrying a balance, the rules change. Now the card is no longer just helping you pay for things. It is lending you money over time. And the longer that money stays borrowed, the more valuable your account becomes to the company. This is where the minimum payment comes in. The minimum payment is the smallest amount you can usually pay while keeping the account current. It is not a recommendation. It is not the amount you should pay. It is the amount that keeps the loan from becoming officially late. Think of it like bailing water out of a leaking boat. The minimum payment is enough to stop the boat from sinking today, but it may not be enough to get you back to shore anytime soon. Let's go back to that $2,000 balance. Imagine the card has a 25% APR. APR means annual percentage rate. It is the yearly cost of borrowing before you even get into fees or special terms. 25% sounds like a yearly number, but credit card interest is usually calculated much more often than once a year. Many issuers calculate interest daily, based on your balance over the billing cycle. So every day the balance exists, the meter is quietly running. On a $2,000 balance at roughly 25% APR, 1 month of interest is about $42. So before you even paid down the debt, the balance has already grown. Now imagine your minimum payment is around $62. You pay the $62. Sounds good, but about $42 of that payment goes towards interest. Only about $20 actually reduces what you owe. You gave the credit card company $62, but your debt only dropped by $20. The other $42 was basically the cost of renting the money for another month. Then the next month begins. You do not owe $2,000 anymore. You owe around $1,980. That sounds better, but interest starts building again. And here is the trick that makes minimum payments feel harmless. As your balance gets smaller, your minimum payments often get smaller too. So the payment that once felt manageable becomes even easier to make. But that also means you are no longer attacking the debt with the same force. You are slowing down. You are taking smaller bites out of a balance that is still charging interest. It is like trying to dig yourself out of a hole while somebody keeps adding a little more dirt every night. You are technically making progress, but not enough to feel free. Using one possible minimum payment formula, interest plus 1% of the balance with a small payment floor, that $2,000 balance could take around 12 years to disappear. And over that time, you could pay thousands of dollars in interest. Not because you bought thousands of dollars of more stuff. Not because you missed every payment. Just because you followed the number marked minimum due. That is what makes credit card debt feel so strange. The payment is low enough that it feels safe. But the low payment is exactly what stretches the debt into the future. The system is built around a very human idea. People do not always have enough money to pay everything off right now. Sometimes there's an emergency. A car breaks down. A paycheck comes late. Something expensive happens at the worst possible moment. In those moments, a minimum payment can actually be useful. It gives you breathing room. It can help you avoid being late while you figure things out. That is the good version of it. But breathing room is not the same thing as an exit plan. The minimum payment is designed to keep the account alive, not necessarily to make the debt disappear quickly. And from the credit card company's perspective, that makes sense. A person who pays their balance in full can still make the company money through transaction fees paid by merchants. But a person who carries a balance can generate interest too. That means two kinds of customers can be valuable: the person who uses the card constantly and pays in full, and the person who borrows money through the card and pays interest over time. The second customer is where the minimum payment becomes powerful, because a customer who pays only the minimum may stay attached to the card for a very long time. They remain current, they keep paying, and the balance keeps earning interest. That is why the wording on a credit card bill matters so much. The statement does not usually say, "Here's the amount that gets you out of debt as fast as possible." It actually says, "Here's the minimum." And your brain sees the word minimum in a strange way. It sounds like the responsible choice, like the official number, like the amount you are supposed to pay. But really, it is closer to a survival number. It is the amount that keeps your account from falling behind this month. It is not the amount that makes the balance stop controlling next month. This is why credit card statements are required to show more than just the minimum payment. They also have to show how long repayment could take if you only pay the minimum and make no new purchases. They also typically show a larger payment amount that could pay off the current balance in 3 years. That box is one of the most honest things on the entire statement, and most people barely look at it, because it turns the invisible cost into something real. It shows that paying a little more each month can cut years off the debt. Not months, years. This is the part people get wrong about credit cards. The danger is not always buying one huge thing you cannot afford. Sometimes it is buying normal things: gas, food, clothes, a night out, a subscription you forgot about. Each purchase feels small, but when the balance is carried forward, those purchases stop being small purchases. They become long-term loans. A $20 purchase can become a $30 purchase. A $50 purchase can become much more. And because everything gets blended into one balance, you stop seeing the original purchases clearly. You do not feel like you're still paying for dinner from 8 months ago. You just see one large number. That is why credit card debt can become emotionally dangerous. It turns spending from a clear decision into a blurry cloud. You are not choosing between buying something and not buying something. You are choosing between paying now and making your future self deal with it later. And future you has less information. Future you does not remember how exciting the purchase felt. Future you only sees the balance, the interest, and the minimum payment. So what is the point of the minimum payment? It isn't evil. It exists because people need flexibility. But it is also not a finish line. It is an emergency setting. The real difference is not between paying nothing and paying the minimum. The real difference is between paying the minimum and paying enough to consistently cut into the principal. The principal is the actual money you originally borrowed. Every extra dollar above the minimum can matter because it has a job. It does not just lower your balance today. It lowers the interest that balance can create tomorrow. That is the opposite of compounding. Instead of interest building interest against you, you start removing the balance before it can grow again. You are not just paying money. You are taking time away from the debt. And that is what the minimum payment really sells you. It sells you time. A little comfort today in exchange for a longer bill tomorrow. Sometimes that trade is necessary. Real life happens. But the more often you make it, the more expensive that comfort becomes. Because the minimum payment is not asking, how fast do you want to be free? It's asking, how little can you pay and still stay in the game? And for a credit card company, the game can last a very long time.